what's the gamut of things. On one hand, we are talking about people losing jobs, the empathy, the employability factor. On the other hand, we are thinking of how to take our country to $1 trillion. And Ravi gave a very nice equation, and I'm going to work on that, Ravi. That trillion devices, even if it's $1 that could take it. We'll have to take that, and many of us in R&D have been working, I'm sure all of you, and let's engage more and more in this direction to take our country to that $1 trillion angle. So today I titled it with Enchanted Reality, that's the theme. A bit of 5G that generally is not talked about in this forum. IoT, there is a lot that we talk here, but a small angle of that. And then what we are trying to build. My slides are from more Samsung experience, with a couple of them from other companies and sources. So this is Europe Games that got launched. And let me start by a little bit on the 5G. Let me set the stage. If you are not familiar, how many of you are working in 5G, if at all anybody? Just one hand. So let me take you. In 5G, we talk about three important things. Enhanced mobile broadband. So we talk about the peak data rate, 20 gigabits per second, and at the edge of the cell, it's about 100 megabits per second. The second aspect is ultra-reliable low latency. We are talking about error corrections. The errors would be at the 10 to the power minus 9 at that level of error rate. And the latency, because we are talking about interactive games, sports, many things. Therefore, the latency has to be 1 millisecond. Maybe overall would be a few more milliseconds, but network level, it's at 1 millisecond. We are talking in new dimensions that we not used to talk too much on the 4G. That's per square kilometer. What is the number of connections that we'll do? It's 1 million connections per square kilometer. And some of these IoT devices would be sitting somewhere that it will be hard to change the battery. Therefore, the lifespan has to be 10 years, of the order of that. And we need to manage these 10 years of operation, so it has to be very low power. So this is the triangle everybody talks about and keeping as a Bible as they build the system. On the right-hand side, you see you can make it bigger. You can make it octagonal. I'll not go into all of these, but there are other factors. For example, network energy efficiency. We are talking about green communications. So are you going to be creating all of these and dissipating more power? And IoT, the benefits could be lesser than your observations that you will be putting. No, if you look into that, the inside rectangle or the octagonal shape that you see, that is the current LTE system, IMT 2020, IMT Advanced. And the circular points are one that's depicted for 5G. So network energy efficiency, we are talking from 1x to 100x. Area traffic capacity, which is called megabits per second per millimeter square, that's also going up. So you can see that overall how we are expanding from the present systems. Below that line that you see, I will just take 2 points for Samsung that we have picked. Pyeongchang Winter Olympics in Korea, South Korea, last year, when you did that in 2018, Winter Olympics, and from there, going to 2020 Summer Olympics. We launched in the stadium the 5G. It was not in full form factor. It was a tablet, but you could do that. And what did we do? I'll explain later. But in between, obviously, we have launched into many places. In standards, any communications have very strong standards. And you can see beginning of 5G standards from release 14 to release 16. That's 3GPP standards in which the 5G has been defined. I think you have got the stage right. This is one thing. When you deploy, I'm just taking a train as an example. You can have passenger, internet on board, passenger assistance, entertainment, and also for your train operator, you can have security, train control, crew assistance, those kinds of benefits. Now, why we put that? Because in 2017, as we started building, this whole 5G journey is a pretty long journey. I started when I joined 2011 in Samsung. My first assignment has been, let's start the 5G research. And from there, today we are deploying. So it's a 8-9 years long of affairs. So this is in 2017 with KDDI in Japan. We did a pilot run of 5G to test. Because when you build a system, you have to try first with pedestrians, then it's a slow-moving car, then it's a fast-moving car, then you go onto the tunnel to do the switchover, and then you try also in trains and other examples. This is what we have launched. Many people think that, are we launching? When is it coming? Korea has been the first country in December 2018, SKT, KT, and LG together on one common infrastructure. Same day, we launched. And from Samsung, we did one in the automotive spare parts. You can real-time visualize and see. And if the product is defect, you don't take it into the next of the sequence of your production chain. This year, April, we have launched it. Now, Note 10 that we have launched in South Korea is just 5G. There is no version other than that. And that's the kind of situations, and 2.5 million users are already using it. In US, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile. If you look into Verizon Speed Taste, these are in different cities, New York, Chicago, and in LA. 1.4 gigabits per second in Chicago has been achieved with Samsung network, Samsung S10 5G, and the latencies has been 17 millisecond. We can improve still further. What is the benefit? The first season serial, if you see that on 4G, it takes 1 hour and 16 minutes. In 5G, 38 seconds. That's the difference. Hour to few seconds. This is what we are looking at. If you are still doubting, last slide on the 5G, that what's going on, deployment happening, this is, you can go to VIAVI's solutions page, and you can see into all these countries, 55 early commercial, not all over the places, but still commercial solutions is getting launched within this year end. This is what is the spectrum of 5G. Now let me come to a bit of IoT. I think this forum is about IoT, so I'll not go into in general form, but from Samsung, we look into a lot into smart home building, digital appliances. And in IoT Next 2015, I talked about quite a lot on these intelligent devices, how we can build these intelligent devices. And we talked about an elephant class devices, horse class, rat class, and how do you take it? And our vision then has been by 2020, we want to make all of the devices IoT enabled. And we are on the right track, and I must also take pride that recently we have reached $10 billion revenue in India from Samsung through all these digital appliances. When I look into the home, now in 2017 we started talking about how do you do the connections and what kind of connectivity comes, how do you bring some kind of intelligent layer even in the connections. So from there, when you implement that, we see challenges in easy onboarding, because when you have 50 devices, you'd not be able to remember all the configurations and set it. You have to just plug in, and it has to get connected. We have to talk about continuous authentication, because there is no way that you have connected into one device, by the time you use another, that screen is locked. This is not possible. So it needs to know that you are the same person that were using this, and therefore allow you to continue usage any part of the network. So those are directions in which people have been talking. Now, how do you connect? In recent Samsung developer conference in San Francisco, we announced how people can connect D2D, because not all the time you need to go to the cloud, how devices could connect directly to the cloud, how you can go through an hub and then go to the cloud, or you probably have a cloud and already providing a service, let's say parking service in some place, and I have this smart building. These two layers could talk to each other by cloud to cloud through APIs that we define. So these are 4 different models that we could connect. What we are bringing new gradually, these are different modes that are announced, and people could write automations, simple automations, also complex automations. Through web code, you can write now into SmartThings Cloud complex automations. If this and this, then should be happening this. That's the kind of actions that we have already launched. So you can simply define going out mode. Switch off this light, put on the balcony light, lock the door. And it can be automatically done accordingly. So that's the smart home. Lots of connectivity. I don't intend to cover it because you all know, but I just wanted to remind that as OCF, Open Connectivity Foundation, we have opened an India chapter. 50 companies have been participating. As a country, one M2M standard is being talked about for smart city from government, TEC, and we have just done a conference, EU and India ICT Summit, in which I presented how one M2M and OCF in smart home building and smart city could pull in even data from one to each other. For example, if the air quality meter reading would be outside, but your air purifier, if you want to turn it on, when to turn it on, you could pull that information from one M2M to OCF and then do it. Or vice versa. Electricity meter tariff, people don't need to visit anymore to your home. They could pull the data from home to say that's the tariff that you need to bear. So there is a lot of connectivity, and you know about that. Depending on coverage, throughput, and distance, they are applicable. So this is one slide I wanted to talk about. In that Enchantment, a lot of batting related activities have happened. This is a company in Australia by name Kookaburra, who is already launched this, but it's getting certified by hopefully next year sometime. This ball has got the accelerometer, the gyroscope, the magnetoscope, and you can see the speed, the direction, the spin of the ball. And it is connected to the cloud with a machine learning, and then you could actually train, or you could help in the playing, like the, your umpire, third umpire, second umpire, the umpires are going away. So even on the bowling side of it could be tracked thoroughly. Sensors, analyze, and then act. These are 3 stages fundamentally in this ball. Also, if you look into it, those are the sensors. If you're working in IoT data, and then you define what act you want to do. That's up to you in that automations. So that's on the IoT front. And I wanted to now a little bit combine this 5G and IoT, their needs, on some of the services that you could talk about. Just 4 slides. First example, at home. When you are at home, and I talked about smart home, you're connected. All these 5G could act as a last mile. So aggregate everything, your video on demand, your speed, high-speed internet, and they would require bandwidth, and therefore you could congregate maybe one house, maybe a couple of villas, and then you take it out from there, and it's called wireless fiber. This is penultimate mile, I call it, because the home is done. Now if you come to the city level, you can come to the city level, and then LT small cell, I given maths there, 5 times 240 megabits per second. You have a public Wi-Fi, lots of IoT sensors, CCTV, intelligent surveillance, digital signage. They would become much more dominant and prominent. And therefore, that adds up to a gigabit traffic and then your street lights. Street lights are going to be very, very vital. Now, I worry always when I look into some poles are down, I think we're talking about IoT, but how am I going to be using them? And they will drive a lot of factors. It's no more just that light is off, but it's much more than that. So we need to get it right. 5G core, access unit, street lights, and your smart city. This is one. I'm not going to say this will come soon. Not that even others are going to be coming soon, what I discussed in India so quickly. But nonetheless, the world is moving in these directions. 5G V2X, the standards are working, and I just gave some example. If you are driving the car, the first benefit of 5G, you are going to get high definition map update, more precise and detailed that you could see. That's the first thing. Second thing, semi-autonomous car, but maybe remote driving, Maybe somebody doesn't know the car driving, he can be passenger and I can drive it from home, right? So that's the remote driving. And I'm not going even in the autonomous car segment. Then you have the connected traffic light, which I just showed in the previous slide. And this is becoming very, very valuable case, I would say. Camera and LiDAR, that's monitoring what's going in front of you, and can you display or pass on these informations at the back so that they don't add on to the congestions and suffer the same way. So I think society would become much more collaborative. Whether we like it or not, our devices would be less selfish than possibly us and start to collaborate in that direction. So to sum it up, in the last slide of it is the immersive services that we have. Obviously, the very many different devices are coming. We have already launched our foldable phones, and many other flexible devices are going to be coming. They're going to play a bigger role. Digital signage. We talk about edge devices. There are many presentations that you will have on that. You have an ubiquitous healthcare. The main advantage there is remotely can you access and then have this healthcare delivered into that. Lot of wearables and other devices are coming, so it will become very natural that your blood pressures are getting measured, your ECGs are taking. You don't need to go to hospitals for many of these simple things. And the definition of simple things will get stretched. It will become much more non-invasive and remote monitoring. HD to full HD, when it came, non-HD to full HD, people didn't know what they were watching, but when you see two channels side by side HD, you understand the difference. Now, when you see HD to UHD, I think we'll see why we were looking at the HD. That's the kind of difference, and our eye's power is so strong that it can still distinguish there. And people would talk about this video streaming. Smart map and navigation in disaster management. You can form an ad hoc 5G kind of network with few more devices, because each device would be capable, some drones, and formulate a temporary network. You don't need to worry about poles and other devices, and then it can serve you. And the last part of it is the real-time interactive games. I talked about in the beginning, the Europe in the games launch, they showed that, the AR, VR, power of that. The real-time interactive games, esports are becoming very, very popular. New stadiums are coming up where low-latency interactive games are happening. And when we did that Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, we started with that. That, if I have an AR, VR headset, the sports person who is actually doing it, that camera would be able to track it. And therefore, in the stadium, whoever is sitting can choose to see this view of it. You don't need to see the sports person, but actually you can see the view of what he's seeing or going through. Also, we put 100 cameras there, that even if you are a disadvantageous position, your ticket was cheaper than the others, you didn't get the right seat, doesn't matter. You can choose a camera which is much more premium locations and still see the view from here. So with that note, I will conclude, and I'll say as the 5G comes and we put all those IoT devices, all technologies have a cross-play of AR, VR, and we'll put together and have at the end of it, as we all talk about, human experience matters. And so therefore, we will look forward to that day to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. De. Thank you, Alok. I would request Ravi to come on stage and present a memento to Dr. De. And thanks a lot, Dr. De, for the, 5G is truly a transformative network for AR, VR, IoT, and so forth.
Thank you.